You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates. Sarah's away today. She'll be back soon. But fear not, we do have a great story and a wonderful event to share with you here in the St. Louis area. And I'm just so grateful for our friends over at Christian Friends of New Americans. We'll learn more about them and the upcoming Cycle for the City event in just a moment. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu. Live Uncommon. Joining us today, the Reverend Dr. Stanish Stanley. He's Executive Director for Christian Friends of New Americans. Pastor Stanley, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Also joining us today, Kelly Teuscher. She's a volunteer with Christian Friends of New Americans. Kelly, welcome to the Coffee Hour.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait to hear your story about how you got involved. Before we jump into that, Pastor Stanley, share with us, what is the work of Christian Friends of New Americans today?
Well, as many of you know, and I've been on KFU before also, and so it's always a blessing to be back and to share our story. So CFNA, Christian Friends of New Americans, it's a ministry that works to and works with refugees and immigrants who are coming into the same city area, who are being resettled, especially by the International Institute. Mostly in the city, but then moving also into the county. And so we do a lot of activities heavily driven by the volunteerism of Lutheran church members and believers, and also a few people who are Christian volunteers or maybe belonging to institutions like St. Louis University, WashU, and all that. Basically, these programs or activities like English as second language, health and wellness screenings, or whether it be a COVID vaccination, after-school tutoring for kids. These are all opportunities to not only serve refugees who are new Americans who want more the system and the culture and the language, but also it's an opportunity to share, the love of Christ, the gospel of Christ, and also who we are as a Lutheran community here in St. Louis. So this is what we do. Over the past few years, we've had over 200 baptisms and confirmations, and members from various ethnic communities, mainly from the Nepali people, Eritrean people, Liberian people, and a few Congolese people also who are part of our Lutheran churches, especially in the city of St. Louis.
So Kelly, share with us, how did you get connected with Christian Friends of New Americans?
Well, initially, I was mentioned in my church. I attend Webster Gardens Lutheran Church. And I remember during one of our Bible studies, someone coming and speaking to us. So initially, that's when I first heard about it. And that was several years ago. And I then just came across it not too long ago, and had the opportunity to start volunteering and have really enjoyed it. I just really enjoy getting to know the people and who they are and their cultures.
So in what ways do you volunteer with CFNA?
I organize and help with trivia nights. We have an annual trivia night, and I help chair that. I've helped with barbecues that we've had. I've supported students during Vacation Bible School. I've helped with the after-school tutoring program. There's been multiple ways that I've helped. And I just really enjoy, like I said, bringing Jesus to them, but also getting to know who they are and being a part of their cultures. And then they've in turn invited me to different cultural events that they've had. So it's just, we all learn from each other, which I love.
That sounds like a wonderful relationship and a partnership to get to learn from each other about your backgrounds, your cultures. Tell me, what are some of the things that you're learning that maybe you didn't expect to learn when you became a volunteer with CFNA?
Well, I'll tell you, it's like you said about the cultures, and I do enjoy learning about them. But with this recent events with Afghanistan, and just, not only the impact that we have on the people that come to us, but the impact that we could have on their families as well. I think, it's just unbelievable to hear, that there's people still, that families still have families in Afghanistan, and they're talking to them, but they're not only talking to them about what's going on there, but I've been on the other side of a phone call where they're talking about what they're learning through, our organization and being a part of it.
Now, folks who regular listeners of the Coffee Hour know that anytime that we're talking with friends in other cultures or our missionaries serving in other cultures, one of my favorite questions is about the food. Have you got to discover lots of different food with your new friends with CFNA?
Yes, we have. And we've talked about different types of foods they've eaten. And then I've had an opportunity to go over to their houses and share their different types of breads that they eat, a lot of meat, different types of rices than we do, different flavors and rices. The tea, we have a lot of different, tea in a lot of cultures prefer like hot tea as to iced tea, which is interesting to me that, I like both teas, but a lot of them will just, hot tea is an all year type thing. And they just prefer that. And they've talked to me about cooking and how we cook on, in a kitchen, on a stove. They cook in an open fire. So, I love just hearing about all those different cultures and eating the food and, just all sorts of different activities that they do.
Absolutely. So many relationships just grow when you gather around food and you learn so much about one another. And what a great way for others to learn English too, in such a comfortable and casual setting. I mean, food seems to like break down walls for us, doesn't it?
It really does. It does. We've sat and we talked about different cultural things, like how weddings are in the United States and how they're different in other cultures. Some cultures in America, we have a one-day celebration, where in other cultures, it's a multiple-day celebration. And so, it's interesting how, and some cultures still do arranged marriages where we, can choose our spouse. So it's fun to just learn about, the things we know and to ask those questions about how they do that in their country.
Fascinating. That there really is. So the ways that you serve, you primarily as English as a second language, that you sell courses. And what have you found that you enjoy about serving as a volunteer in that way and teaching? Have you, I know outside of volunteering with CFNA, you're also a teacher. Has it helped you in other ways as a teacher by participating as a volunteer with CFNA?
It has, and I think it will really continue to, in that recently we have had a student who's come in who is blind. And as I shared, I teach the visually impaired. So I have some background in how to help him get his materials and learn better. So I think that, that will be very beneficial to have that background to assist him to learn better.
Outstanding. Well, what would you say to someone who maybe has the gift of time and could volunteer with CFNA, but they haven't taken that step? What are some ways that they could volunteer with CFNA and get involved?
I would say to find out about it, a lot of churches do support CFNA. So to look in your church bulletins to find out what's available, but also to look, we have several different types of social media that CFNA is on. We're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I don't know about, so there's, and those sorts of things. There's a website and there's listings of how you can volunteer with and what sorts of events are available. So that's how I kind of know what I want to do, is look at those sites and choose what I'm interested in and how I can help.
Outstanding. So Pastor Stanley, can you share with us what's the website where we can learn more about CFNA? And then we'll share more of the CFNA story here in just a moment. But before we go to break, can you share that website with us?
Definitely. So, yeah. So you can always go to www.cfna-stl.org. And you can always access the website and look into the opportunities that are there. There's also the e-news that comes out every month, which is a good place to see where things, what things are available and what things are open for tuning at CFNA. And it's all on the website, yes.
Very good. We're talking with Reverend Dr. Stanish Stanley, Executive Director for Christian Friends of New Americans, and Kelly Teuscher. She's a volunteer with CFNA. We have more to learn about Christian Friends of New Americans and the upcoming event cycle for the city in just a moment, right here on the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
You're a miracle. You know that, right? A living, breathing, one-of-a-kind miracle. You were created to stand apart, to share your gifts in the service of others, to make an uncommon impact in a common world. And at Concordia University, it's our mission to help you do that, to live uncommon. To learn more about Concordia, go to cuw.edu.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates. We're talking with our friends from Christian Friends of New Americans today, the Reverend Dr. Stanish Stanley, Executive Director, and Kelly Teuscher, a volunteer with CFNA. Pastor Stanley, share with us, how did CFNA get started here in St. Louis?
Well, that's an interesting story. In fact, our founder, Mrs. Carol Buckman, and many of her friends were the ones who really got involved in a big way in starting CFNA. And initially, from what I've heard, because I was never there when it started in the late 90s or early 2000s, it started as an outreach to Nigerian refugees who were living around the Messiah Lutheran Church area. And so in the city of St. Louis, just opposite to Dow Grove Park. And Mrs. Buckman tells me that it was computer classes for Nigerian refugee friends who were there. There also, an important component of all this was the coming together of various Lutheran churches. So it's from the very beginnings of CFNA, quite a few Lutheran churches have been really invested and connected to this ministry. So some important churches like Christ Memorial Lutheran Church, there is Concordia Lutheran Church Kirkwood, and also the city churches like Messiah, of course, and Ascension Lutheran Church, St. John's, Morganford, Timothy Lutheran Church. And that's where all this started gathering more pace with regards to serving new Americans who are settling in the St. Louis city area, blessing them with volunteers from these churches and also with the services that they do. So it always started small, as far as I am told, and as far as I recollect the story. It started with finding out what was the need of the needs of the people. And so mostly it was English classes. Then it was things like, for kids, after-school tutoring, health and wellness screenings was an important piece from the very beginning as it started gathering pace. And then by 2006, the CFNA was able to acquire the building from the 20th Missouri District of the LCMS, which was on South Grand, very much within the resettlement zone for refugees. So we are located just opposite to MERP's Candies on 4019 South Grand Boulevard, and it's within a 2-3 mile radius that all the refugees are settled. And so, at least initially, so it's always a great opportunity for us to meet new people, serve them, invite them to our activity space, and then from there we try our best to kind of introduce them to various congregations, whether it be Epiphany Free Church or even Concordia Kirkwood for the VBS that Kelly was just pointing out about. And these are examples or ways by which the church has been involved with CFNA ministry and how CFNA ministry has grown over a period of time.
What are the needs of our new neighbors these days in St. Louis?
Well, always various needs. Of course, financial help is always a big need, whether it's rent, utilities, etc., bills to be paid. COVID-19 has definitely accelerated some of the issues that they were already having, and that support and help is always needed. But alongside that, it is always also about learning the language, understanding, and navigating the system. If the refugees have been here for a long period of time, then they make those connections with their own people and do things together. But at the same time, especially when refugees are coming in new, it's going to be difficult for them to make those connections and get on with their life and perform at the best optimum level where they can. And so that's where an American friend becomes so important and so valuable to them. That's an opportunity for Christians. So who better to be friendly to refugees than people of God who have been blessed with the opportunity to friend, because their Lord himself has come as a friend to them and has blessed them as their Lord and Savior. And so the opportunity to befriend and to be there with people and also share the gospel message and love of Christ is always possible in these vulnerable moments when refugees need English language or a ride to a store or to a health and wellness clinic or to the doctor's appointment or whatever. And those are always some of the needs that refugees and immigrants even today have. So, yeah.
Do we anticipate that those needs are going to continue to grow and change in the upcoming months here in St. Louis?
Definitely. I think what we are hearing is, especially with regards to the Afghani refugee situation, which Kelly was pointing out or hinting at, we will be seeing up to at least 1,000 refugees settled in St. Louis. That's the numbers that we hear from the International Institute, which is the major resettling agency here in St. Louis. And so having 1,000 people is going to be overwhelming even for them, because they're also down. They don't have staff to kind of really do this, and they are quickly kind of trying to get staff for this purpose. And that's why agencies like ours, which are basically ministries, Christian-focused, and providing secondary care, so to speak, become so valuable as a partner for an agency like the International Institute. And so we hope to help with the resettlement process in whichever way possible. We are definitely going to have needs of things like basic human need packages and welcome packages for these new refugees who are coming in, just to show them that what they're running away from is the exact opposite of who we are. We embrace people who come in, but at the same time also want to be there to help them get resettled, get on with their life here also, because those shifts and changes that they will encounter here will challenge them. It will be overwhelming even for people who are coming. So those needs will remain, if not become more serious as time progresses. I heard from the Institute that the next month it's going to be around 60 refugees who are going to be already here. So those numbers will keep on increasing as the months go on. And so if they are saying 1,000 Afghani refugees here, that means the next coming months it's going to be a lot more. And so we are just hoping that the people of God will come forward to show their generosity, just as the Lord has blessed them. After all, our citizenship is in heaven. That's what St. Paul teaches us. And so in Scripture. And so this is what drives us, that we are God's people here with a purpose to be there for people who are themselves migrating and who are themselves facing trauma and turmoil in life. And we want to be there as the voice of Jesus, as the hands and feet of Jesus to help.
And one of the ways that people can come forward to support organizations like CFNA and some other great organizations here in St. Louis, Humanitri and Lutheran Development Group, is through the Cycle for the City event. Pastor Stanish, can you share with us a little bit more about the Cycle for the City event here in St. Louis?
Sure, yeah. In fact, this is something that's a cool thing that is happening. It is heavily driven by the work of Lutheran Development Group that has taken the initiative to put together this fundraiser called the Cycle for the City, but also have been generous enough to accommodate and invite other agencies like Humanitri and Christian Friends of Americans to be a partner in this event and organize this effort. And so the event is on the 6th of September. That is the day of that's Labor Day of this particular year. And there are two rides that starts from Benton Park. There is a 14-mile course and also a 34-mile course. Registration is around $30. There's going to be a t-shirt that is going to be given as swag. But the idea is to support these uniquely Lutheran organizations that are working in the city of St. So Christian Friends of New Americans working amongst refugees and immigrants who are being resettled here. Lutheran Development Group that is working in the area of housing and making it affordable, and also pruning up the city, so to speak, by reviving some of these houses that are in a bad condition. And also Humanitri, which works mainly for creation and helping people handle some of their life issues and things like that. So these are three uniquely Lutheran organizations that are working in different aspects of our city of St. Louis and try to kind of strengthen the city, stabilize it, make it a thriving and a prosperous place all over again. So if you come out, if your listeners would love to come out and support us, whether as volunteers or whether just as contributors to the effort, but more so if they're bikers and would love to ride in this effort, we would love to.
Very good, very good. And cycleforthecity.org is the website where you can learn more about that event. You can support Humanitri, Lutheran Development Group, and Christian Friends of New Americans. With just about a minute or so, about 2 minutes left, I want to go back to something we were talking about just a little bit ago about when new immigrants or refugees come to the area. What are some of the things that are most important for them? Kelly, in your experience as a volunteer, when you meet a new immigrant or refugee, a new neighbor, what are some of the questions or things that might be most challenging in their first few days or first few weeks or even maybe first few months in their new community that you see?
Connecting with people in general because of the language barrier, just knowing that, and that's why it's important as a church organization that we get out there and introduce ourselves to them, because they don't know anybody. So just helping them to be comfortable with who they are and that there's someone there for them.
Well, Pastor Stanish, can you share with us again what we can find at the CFNA website, and let's revisit those details again about the Cycle for the City event as well.
Sure. You can always go to our website at www.cfna-stl.org, and you can always access our webpage, see it, look at our e-news, see some cool stories of how people are being impacted by the ministry of CFNA. Also look out for volunteer opportunities that are there, and we would love to have your support for after-school tutoring, for ESL, for health and wellness screenings, wherever you can plug in. It would be great to have your help. Also, yes, cycleforthecity.org is where you can get information about this particular fundraiser that includes three organizations, including CFNA and Humanitri, that is working in the city of St. Louis. And so you can always register. The event is on the 6th of September, and we would love to have your support.
My guest today, the Reverend Dr. Stanish Stanley, Executive Director for Christian Friends of New Americans. Pastor Stanley, thanks so much for being my guest today.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having us.
And Kelly Teuscher, volunteer with Christian Friends of New Americans. Kelly, it has been a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for being my guest on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.